Recording. So I am recording. And then make sure. All right. Good morning, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, Thank you for joining me today. Uh, did a little rearrangement and as I was working, and then trying to also get ahead on a couple of things. And so, but we're going to jump into today's presentation, which was a request on just GT measures. That's all we're looking at today. Um, as we go forth and then answer some of your questions. So hopefully this will be helpful for you today. Um, and then it might lead to other questions later on, but we're just looking at questions and measures today. So I always like to remind you of our state goal and remember that we are looking at our students who are and making sure that they can demonstrate their own self-learning, thinking, research, and communication through those innovative products and performances that reflect their own individuality, creativity, and that are advanced in relation to students of their similar age, experience, or environment. So always remember that key term right there, age, experience, or environment, looking at those students there. And then our high school graduates. So your program should be putting out student high school graduates who have developed a advanced product, a professional product, or performance at some point in time in their career. And so this is wellness check, just checking on everyone. I know our friends in Region 1, Region 19 are still in a hotbed. I know some other areas, Region 10 are still, their numbers are fluctuating, moving up. But I hope everyone is taking moments and taking time to take care of yourself to make sure that you're doing well. Any other updates anybody want to share out there right quick? My internet is stable. Yeah. If you could put it in the chat. Also, there we go. So I hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe, especially as we go into our next holiday seasons. Um, and then, because I know some schools are shutting down, some campuses, entire districts. So I just ask that you stay safe, that you take care, and then enjoy your friends and family as we go forth. And I'm going to launch a poll, and I just want to know, just kind of get a idea who's in the audience and who's available, who's there. Thank y'all. So we'll give it a couple of more seconds. All right, my GT coordinators are out there. I like that. All right. For those who are following me, my nephew and myself. So yes, the Tennessee Titans won a second time. They lost the week before, but and then they play this week. So like we get to watch the game this week. Um, have not traveled, don't plan on traveling to see him for a while for a game. Like to be safe, especially staying with family who are a little bit elderly. So I'm going to go ahead and close in the poll. Thank you. And so these are our results. So pretty much the majority on the call today is our GT coordinators. We got a few teachers out there. We got our ESC specialists. I can't do it without my ESC specialists. And then I have my GT advocates, and we got some parents out there. Okay, marvelous. All right, so The next thing I want to, as we go forward, I want to say thank you to our veterans. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, where if you do not honor them every day, but specifically doing things above and beyond, tomorrow is our celebration. Also, want to let you know that the agency will be closed tomorrow. Some of you might be going into pre-conference for NACC, but the agency will be closed and in celebration of Veterans Day. And so thank you once again for your service. From a person who's had family members who have served in different wars over the years, it is an honor to say thank you. I know a lot of you do come back and work for our districts, or we got our junior ROTC and our ROTC commanders there also. All right, so just kind of, I introduced this the last time. So as we look at our numbers for COVID, if you notice, they have increased over, 2 weeks since we've actually met. So, and it was this, I want to say probably about, I think it was 12 for positive last time. So we have really gone up about, 7,000 students have been tested positive over that 2 week span. So look at that. And we just need to be careful. Make sure that our children that are in school in that setting are using those safe procedures. I know it can be a challenge, especially with our younger ones, and then some of our older ones who have their own minds and want to do things their way. But your safety is priority. So, and our next thing, going into just your reminder of where you can find the information on our COVID website and to get updates. The next is if you need to get announcements. I sent out one actually yesterday morning. So if you, this is how you can subscribe to get your public information. I also recommend, other than GT, that you sign up for Advanced Academics, and then that you also sign up to the administrator address, so you'll know what new information is coming out that might be a little bit more global than specific content areas. And also I would recommend curriculum. Sometimes they'll put things out, especially so that you have an update on core content information. Right. And I think everyone has probably seen and perused both of these documents by now. So, you know, we have our FAQ that is still available, and then our guidance document. And just remember, they are guidance documents. Some things just to help you to think and to plan for your either the rest of your school year or plan for your next school year, of things to look at your programs, look at your services, and to kind of make informed decisions on or know some of the things that you can, options that you can use. So as you see today, we are at our last GT Tuesday for, and our only one for November. And then our next one is in December on the 8th. And as you requested, it is specifically on just an open field for questions. So if you have not submitted a question, take time to submit one, send me some. I will make sure I have a drafted response to go through. But otherwise, it's just going to be us having a free-for-all conversation and kind of learning all that you want to learn, or just to pick my brain on certain things. Now, I would say if it is very particular to your district, you might want to do just a call Monica or schedule a Zoom meeting, and we can do that. If it's really particular to your district, or if it's more general, definitely would like to answer those for the entire populace as we go forward. And then, as we're talking about topics, I have another poll, and this is my last one for today, is really looking at what topics for the spring and things that you would like to hear about and a little bit know more about. So I just put a few options up there. You could choose more than one, so don't think you only can choose one. So choose this, what you think and what you want to know more about. And then, as you know, otherwise, throw it in the chat if there's something not there. Give y'all a couple more seconds. Almost there. PowerPoint does not read well. All right. All right. I'm going to end the poll. Thank you for voting. So pretty much everyone wants to know more about secondary options. And then the next one up was differentiation. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. So, and that. So if you did not get the newsletter yesterday, here are, as you will see in your, if you download the PowerPoint, but it's on screen also, the links for the spring. So I changed it up just a touch for the spring. It is a registration process, so you can go in and you can register for the entire spring session. I've selected all the dates. Topics are to be determined, but all the dates have been selected for the spring there, and they luckily they found, fell correctly on a good date. They didn't have to be moved around too much. And so hopefully you'll get your registration. You do not have to attend all, or you can select all, you can choose which one. So please join me in the spring as we go forth into the next process of this school year. All right, and so that leads us into our topic. So I just wanted to make some of you aware, because I'm not sure if everyone knows that this is available out there. On the TA website, and the link is there on the page, there is a section for group administered achievement tests. So you'll get the entire list of what TA has approved for group administered tests. So you know they've been normed, and they've been normed referenced within that 8-year window. So they are state approved. They are basically what most of your districts do use currently for group tests, group administration for different measures. So if that's something you want to look at to make sure that you're, when you hear someone talk about that 8-year window, looking at your test, that's what they're referring to. Is by law, you have to, anything that has to be, make sure that that standardization of standardization on norms have been done within that 8-year window. So, and that's only for state approved group administered tests. And now, so some of that will, depending on what test you're using, may fall out of that ruling. So do not think about all of that will apply to you and to the test that you use. All right, so I got a note. Just wanted to remind you, at this point, there is no measures included in this presentation endorsed by the Texas Education Agency. It is all your local decision. I'm providing information. I'm not a seller. I'm not endorsing. I'm not approving. That's your decision. So, but I'm giving you some information on tests. So here are ability tests, and basically you will see an entire list, and what I put on, you'll see little texts on those also, is that is also a part of that group administered test. So they've been approved there also. So if you're looking at that, that's another indicator. So on this one, I think most people do use the NACC, the COGAT. Some do the Wechsler. very few, but some do. I want to say Sages. So, and so Sages, and then some version of the Woodcock Johnson test. And so these are a few tests that you can consider and to use as you go forth into the next process. Thank you, Miranda, for throwing that out there in the link. So basically, as you know, we look at for GT, we ask that you look at quantitative and qualitative number data. And so here's your list of ability tests. At this point, just a note that you will find at the end of this presentation all the links to the websites to our publishers, and so that you want to find more information for them or to go dig a little deeper, that you can. So you'll see pretty much all of them listed here and with their information. As we go further in, I'll give an opportunity for those who like to share what tests they're using in their districts, and how well is it working, or how well it's not working, or if it's not doing its job. So here are a list of achievement tests, and this is not the all-inclusive list. It's just really just looking at, here's a snapshot of all the ones that pretty much we've been knowing about for years and been using for years, and a few that are coming up. So as you see, pretty much most of these are Pearson and Riverside, and then Poof Rock. And then I think everyone is pretty much some kind of version in your district is using MAP. Then we have Iowa and Stafford 9. Those are pretty much the ones that we know most districts do use for really, because I remember taking the Iowa test, ITBS test, as we were going through school. And so, so here are some creativity tests that you can consider also. Thinking of you, because if you know, most of the tests will also have a reasoning section that you can use. So Torrance is the most well-known creativity test that most people use. It is also it is a good indicator, but it's very subjective, because you either subjective and expensive, I will put it that way, depending on how you are grading that. If you have trained people who in your district can grade it, or your regional service center, or if you're sending it back to the publisher for testing, I think it's the University of Georgia, for grading of that test. I like Torrance. Torrance is, even for adults, it's a good test to look at. But as I said, it can be very subjective. Everyone does not see it the same way. So it depends on what you're looking for as you look for creativity. So think of the measures that you may want to use. Here are a list of checklists and different inventories that are available out there. As you look at, let's moving beyond and going differently. So there are different ones that you can choose from, pull up, and I know most districts, I won't say most, but some are using King Gore's observation inventory. Then there are some that does use the GIF or the Giphy. I think when I was in the district, we had the GIF. And that was middle school. So Giphy is a little early, GIF is a little different. And then you have your scales for rating. Then you have a couple of content area tests here specifically for looking at either math or reading skills. Probably do a little bit more research later to find some more specifically for science and social studies, or you can be using your map test in those areas also. So those are a couple of things, and some of these do cross over depending on what you use and what are you using the measures for. Once again, a few more scales, but then this one is scales and some screeners. So you still got the Hope teacher rating scale. things my child likes to do, and then the universal talents and gifted screener. So those are some options to consider. And then Proofrock also had a webinar series where they were looking at those rating scales and how to use those. And so I just included the link to that webinar on this page and on another, I want to say. So that is something to consider. So I'm looking at the questions, the slocum pain parent inventory or support document. Probably, and I don't think I have to look for my book. I will remember that question and come back to that, Kara, because I think there is, but I have to look for my book. It will be in Giftedness Unmasked, I want to say. I think that's the title. It's a yellow book, and I don't think it's, I have to look at the book. I think it's packed when I brought so many things back. As I said, here are the list of publisher links earlier. And let me get back into the chat and answer some questions there in 1 minute. So here are some good some good information for you to find out a little bit more and to think about. As you know, Identifying Gifted Students, a Practical Guide is an excellent resource if you're looking to find out more information on tests, especially identification for gifted kids and those tests, how to use those tests. Dr. Johnson does a marvelous job. That is her life work. And so she's our guru on identification. And so that's the third edition. So, it's going to be very useful. My copy is somewhere in here in the room. Then you have 2 ways to develop your local norms, which is another blog that you can look at. And then local norms and universal screeners. As I said, Proofrock put those 2 webinars out in there. If you're looking for just information on how to do assessment, looking for some supporting documents, our GT program implementation resource has that student assessment section. So you have just general information, and then you have a list of documents. So if you need a checklist, you need a pro matrix, you need some sample forms, you can find those there. And there is a smaller list of tests listed there also. So there's another list you can find there. And then one other. So on our equity and gifting education, so we have another list. It's an older list, came out in 2006, but it is a very detailed list. Our standards assessment test, which will provide you with a chart of all of the assessments available at that point in time, because some of them have changed around. Their parameters, the qualification for the examiner, when were they normed, how to score the validity and the reliability of those instruments. And so that is a great tool that you can find also. And then Celebrate Your Child cards. If you have parents who really not sure what they're looking for or what you're looking for, and so Celebrate Your Child cards will help you instruct them, provide them with information on what to look for in those characteristics, and then how to rate their child. And so there's rating sheets on that site also, on our equity site. So that's a free for use. It's already converted English and Spanish. It correlates back into the Celebrate Your Child. So if you're looking for, these are some things that they can check off as they look at their child as they move forward. So, and then if you have conversations or you just need some more data points, this is something you can think about. Or if you need to help them to understand what you're looking for, this is a tool for you. All right, so let's get into the chat. Or if someone has a question and will really want to come off and ask, I will do my best to answer. So let me go back up. Okay, I think someone put the slow campaign inventory in the web. So Tiffany, the PowerPoint, I think Meredith's my backup today. It's usually Amber, but my backups, I put the PowerPoint links there, and it is available on the website. So Darla, you got, what is the number? Is my telephone number? So to reach me, it is 512-475-0626. I hope that's what you were asking as I go back up. All right, we got some campuses going back. PowerPoint has been shared multiple ways. Got the slow campaign document out there. Yes. Yes, a lot of districts do like Sages and using that for their test and using that. There are some ESCs that do provide test measures, and then some do also assist with offering the test administration. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Removing the Mask, Giftedness and Poverty. That is the book. It is a yellow book. And I want to say Ellen Williams and Ruby Payne has updated that document, that book. And I also want to say Cecilia Boswell is coming out with a newer, another equity book pretty soon. So that should be available. Are there assessments available for EL students? So the most would use the NACC. Some would also use Logramos for those. And then I say Mel has already answered part of that for the nonverbal. COGAT is coming out with different language tests. I can't remember if this came, I know at Gifted Plus, was it the year before? Not last year, but the year before. They did share that they were coming out with different languages versions of their COGAT tests. And so So sure, I'm looking at Shelley's question on slide 12. Must we change our testing instrument and local norms every 12 years? 8 years, excuse me. No, you do not have to change your local norms and your testing instrument every 12 years. Those are the tests that are given by your district. So your district level at that point does have to change it. So if your district, if you've ever noticed, and if you've been in the district for a while, if you ever notice at one point you're doing ITBS, and then either you're going to switch to do Stanford 9, or you're going to switch back to ITBS, or you're switching to another test, or a newer version has come out. So that's really, it's not necessarily you're changing, the vendors are pretty much more changing, and they update this list every year. So you'll see when you look at that list that they have updated when it was the last time that it was normed and when it was changed. Now on your local norms every year, 8 years, you might really want to start looking at and maybe doing a frequency of looking at what your local norms look like, because your children might not be moving at an 8-year window, but maybe a 3-year window or a 4-year window. So it really just needs to look at that. You might not want to change every 8 years. You may can change every 10 or might be 5. So you just really have to look at what your instrument is, how's it normed, and what your population is. So just being real reflective of where you are and what your district is looking like.
Hey, Monica and everyone.
Okay,
this is from Paulina from TAGT. Can y'all hear me?
Paulina?
Yes.
Okay, you're real light.
Oh, okay. I will try a different way. How's this? Is this better?
And it
I
might
hear you
just me.
fine.
Hold on. Might be just me.
Yeah, I hear you well.
Okay, I had to turn on my headphones. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paulina.
Okay, awesome. Well, I know that a lot of you all are focused on identifying virtually and or in this hybrid environment, and also focused on equity. And just wanted to do another plug for the TAGT's Gift Ed conference that's coming up. We're releasing sessions next week that are called Flipped. And Karen Rambo Hernandez is doing a local norms boot camp, an in-depth identification session. We've got Marcia Gentry, Susan Johnson, Joyce Gentune, and then several talking about identifying for creativity, leveling the playing field, so much equity focused content. Just if you haven't registered, or if you haven't gotten your team registered, we would greatly appreciate it. We need about 300 more people to register to hit our numbers. And I know this is a difficult year for everyone. But if you have the means to support your professional association so that we can support you and get some great content at the same time, we would be so humbled and appreciative of that. So if you have any questions, let us know. All of the sessions are up on our website. And if there's anything that we can do to make that easier for you to find, let us know. And Dana, yes, I will absolutely put the link there as well.
Thank you. So Dana asked a question on Celebrate Your Cards. So those came out in probably 2006. But let me skip. If I can speak today. Do screen share and let me take you there. Because those cards and the videos are available on the website. And so you can get them there. All right, so when you come to Celebrate Your Child to the website, there we go. And why is the videos not showing? Wow. Okay. Today will be the day. So you have the cards, and so you can download the cards. You can do them color or black and white, so all the cards are there. Also, you can do them in a booklet form, so you can choose how you want to download them here. And then here are the characteristics that I was talking about. And then the last is guidelines for you as educators on how to use those documents. You'll have an introduction in English and Spanish, and then you'll have the videos. There is a 5-part video series on what a parent in their natural environment with their child should be looking for. What do we when we say these characteristics of imagination and new originality? What does that look like? Those are there. And so, and if so, and I do not. All right, back to the chat. All right, we're pretty much up to date. Very few questions today. All right. Okay. So Before we move on, if anyone would like to share what they're doing with tests, you want to drop it in the chat, which ones you're using. If you drop it in the chat to tell about if you're a rural, urban, mid-sized suburban school district, so that if someone wants to share and reach out to you later, they kind of have a know of where they want to be. So. All right. So as I was doing some of my research, just came across Ed Week has a research center, and they put out gifted education results of a national survey. So they did a national survey. Hopefully, I don't know if any of you are a part of that or were able to just do a couple of links. So, and it's just really on testing and what test districts use. So as you see, most districts across the country do use COGAT, with then the Wishler and the NACC coming after that. But then there's another 42% of the districts that do their own, do something different. So really just if you want to take a look, kind of just like what the rest of the nation is doing. In the midst of this, you can. Just want to highlight that Project Restore, all 6 videos should be up at this point in time for you to use and to consider. If you're looking for something, as I said, is a great trauma-informed web series, self-directed. You can pop in, use that how you want, use that with your teachers, part of your process. Paulina's already given her plug for Gifted Ed 20. I hope that everyone takes that opportunity to go. I've been probably going most of my 15 years of my 20 years plus of Gifted Ed. And so it is a great opportunity to learn, to know more, and to network. So take that chance, take that opportunity. Comfort of your office or your home. Starting tomorrow, NACC is their annual conference starts tomorrow. So that is another venue. I don't know if they still have any registrations open, but if you never got to the national level because of state funding and not going out of state travel, this might be that opportunity for you. And then I'm just going to open it up for just general questions. So someone wants to know if you're doing tours, how are you doing that during COVID? That definitely has to be one of those that they have to come in for and sit down and take that one. So one-to-one. Yeah, COVID is Taurus is not one that you really can do virtually. Not yet. They might come up with something at some point, but I doubt it. So there's some good conversation in the chat. So I hope everyone finds something useful there. Are there any other questions? Or someone can answer a question for the group? Delana is in Beaumont, ISD, correct? Yes. Yes, Beaumont. Delana Barbet is in Beaumont, ISD. There are no questions. I like the chat going on. This is the purpose of this, is to get information to share and to get a little bit more knowledge. Okay, so Debbie had a question. Let me find Debbie. So with the current COVID trends upward, will you reconsider options for testing in person or waivers? I will take that to leadership. Excuse me. As well, some of you may know, some of you may not know, the for a waiver for testing, we will have to take that to the governor. So that will go to the governor to make the final decision on that recommendation. That is not just a Monica decision. So that would have to go to the governor. So I will put that in my notes to take it to the leadership. Oh, wait. So the question, referring back to Debbie's question of the waiver, if we ask for another waiver, that has to be approved by the governor. So that will have to go to the governor for a waiver for GT testing. So to your next question, Debbie possibly asked if there can be an interruption in testing that we can extend the end dates for results. Actually, that other than the requirement to test, your determination of your dates is your local decision. So if you want to move around your end dates for results, and how you look at your numbers, that is a local district decision. That does not require approval from us. And so, as you know, I think a lot of people are concerned about that the kinder in March 1st. I will say do not stress about the kinder in March 1st. We do know the circumstances, we do know the changes. Pretty much that kinder in March 1st is really a student attendance accounting activity, looking at funding, but then we also know that you have the opportunity at the end of the year to update and change your numbers. So I would say take a moment if you need to rearrange your dates, I would say it's probably more of a local district decision compared to a state decision. As you know, what is best for your district, feel free to, if you need to move it, change it, extend it, work out another process, I will say feel free to do that. So Celeste, there is no waiver for districts. If we do a waiver, it is a state waiver for all districts to not give gifted testing. So I guess the question would be, do you want another year of not giving tests? A lot of you were in that process last year where we did, because it was just so much, we did that automatic fast, furious shutdown. Some of you are there, some of you are not. I guess that's really kind of a question that we have to consider and have that conversation about, is it where we are at that point. And give me a minute, I'll make a poll question for it and we can get an answer. Okay. So I'm launching the new poll. If you like a waiver, I'm throwing it out there.
Monica, I said that I didn't want a waiver. However, be that as it may, as things start to trend up and we may or may not go back to remote, I think it's going to be more difficult for us to get our kids screened as we're moving through that process. And so it's not that we want a waiver, we want to continue to identify students, but if we're sitting at home or they're sitting at home and we're, we were 1,200 and something cases yesterday, how are we, it's almost impossible to get them to come in and test them until we could return back to school. So
That's exactly why I asked the question, Holly, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't want to be wondering about it a day before we've got to get results and make decisions. I'm just curious as to, is that an option? Can it be an option if it's needed? I mean, we have a lot of local control, but that's not one we have control over. And our program is set up so our kids are not going to be, they can still get some services without actually being identified. It's not our full service menu, but we have kind of a school-wide enrichment design, district-wide, but it still is more ideal if we can identify them. I just don't want to be making decisions at the last minute when all of a sudden, because these numbers don't just, they creep up and all of a sudden you're just slammed. So I just wanted to put that question out there. So if as individual districts, we ourselves in a sling, we have some options.
Gotcha. All right, I'm in that poll. Okay. Okay. I see where we're at. So just sharing the results of the poll. Thank you for those comments. I will see what kind of language we could probably put out there on that.
Hey, Monica, it's Meredith. Do you mind if I pop in just for a second?
Yes.
Yeah. The reason I had mentioned that, and right there in the chat, I had a couple people asking about it privately, and then through here, is just, before, we jump in for a waiver, even like right now, I'm like having chest pains thinking about how we're going to, get everyone tested in the assessment process and all of that for this year. But I get really nervous with any type of waiver, because then we're saying that it's not essential. And then in the future legislative sessions, just different times of this policy, how are we going to be able to then say, well, it really is just essential. It just wasn't then during that time. So I just that's one thing that makes me really, really nervous when it comes to that. So I don't have a solution, but that's just my random comment for everyone. So
I understand. Yes, we do. We are essential. Your students are essential, but as we all know, we have to think of the health issue that goes with this, and then just the dynamics of this rolling pandemic that fluctuates without it's almost like a hurricane and a tornado and a wave that's all hitting us at one point in time, and you never know how it hits or when it's going to hit and what you got to do and what's your next plan. So definitely, I do understand, and we will work out something and probably work out some language to help with that. So,
Monica, can I jump in? This is Celeste.
yes.
I just want to say there are an awful lot of accommodations that our test partners have been making to make testing remotely a possibility. I know that the COGAT, the Riverside Data Manager, has made a remote proctoring option on the COGAT. There's a lot of them have put up instructions as to how to do remote proctored testing in utilizing different ways. And it's harder for our underserved students, our students in poverty, of course, but there's an awful lot of options before we give up on it. And I know I asked about the waiver because I wasn't sure exactly what we were talking about, but before we give up on testing our GT students, we really ought to put in the work. And I will say in my district, I am in the middle of our universal screener and I have 2 teachers for 10,000 kids. So I want you to know, we will move mountains for our kids because our underserved population deserves to be identified and served. And we're going to do it. So it's got to be done. I think that the way we are in this nation and in the state of Texas, we have a tendency to say the kids will be all right, and they won't be all right. If we let them go, they are going to realize that we don't actually mean what we say about identifying them and serving them. And our district leaders will look at us and say, well, it's really not that important. And so when you go back and you ask for more funding, or you ask for a priority, or you ask for something, they're going to say, well, it wasn't that important during the pandemic. So I think it's really important.
Thank you. All right. Any other wonderings, comments for the good before we move to end? We're almost there.
I wanted to just jump in and say that there's maybe an in-between between we don't identify students and we continue with the same rigorous identification we've been doing. We're looking at perhaps being more cautious in identification and maybe putting more students on an identify watch list, because if we're doing virtual testing, we can't be sure of how the results are being generated. But at the same time, we don't want to not do gifted and talented testing. We don't want to backslide. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know how many districts have kind of a watch that, we're going to go ahead and provide services, but we're not formally identifying. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at perhaps, normally that's a very small number. We're looking at perhaps being much more cautious in actual identification, but going ahead and providing services so that we are, giving the students what they need. Kind of put that out there as well.
Yeah, we've done that
Thank
with
you,
some of
Delana.
our kiddos.
And then that was Holly. And then
Yeah,
Margot, I see you have your hand up. Oh, Holly, go ahead.
We've
Yes.
done that with some of our kiddos. We've given them services because there's data that suggests that they would benefit from those services. We just haven't formally identified them yet.
All right, Margot.
Okay, yeah, in Pearland, we're just not backing off. We're being more cautious. We're trying to do some creative problem solving. But I absolutely agree. If we apply for a waiver and say it's not essential, we don't have to do it now, it's a step backward, and you lose all the momentum you've possibly built with your new state plan and new mandates. I think we have to go forward and be creative and as positive and supportive and as cautious as we can, but we have to move forward. So we are doing that and as best we can.
That's a good point. And we do have a whole lot of local control over how we do it, what we do. And I just wanted to bring that up because I know with COVID cases rising, that was a concern in the spring, but it sounds like everyone has met and moved over that challenge, which is great.
Yeah, I'm home quarantining right now, but due to COVID exposure, but my staff is fabulous and they're moving forward. And we've had a couple of identification sessions, and Robin was really good about assigning seats and social distancing and pick up and drop off protocol and how to organize that, testing smaller groups. It's much more work than it has been previously, but it's important work, and it's essential that we move forward with and continue with that.
So, as you think about your process and moving forward, really thinking of, how can you extend your window? What can you, how can you do those smaller groups? I would probably say at the very latest, because I know some of you do it in after spring break, March and April, really trying to get your students identified definitely by May, so that if you need, so that you can make sure that they're in your systems. So when they do the June or the summer, the last PEMS accounting, at that point in time, your students are counted. That will help with your funding, because we're still in that process. As you know, we're going into legislative session, so things may change, but hopefully you can have, take that time, take that breather, think about your rolling plans. I know when I was in the district, and sometimes now I have an A, B, C, D, and an E and F plan of what we're going to do. And so I just want to say thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your sharing today. As you know, I will put the chat, because I think this has been a very productive chat today, in our listing and what you're conversating about in the process. So. Just want to say thank you once again for all that you do. Thank you for taking the time to share, but take out the time to take care of yourselves over this time, because the next time we will see each other will be December. So enjoy your families, even if it's through Zoom, phone calls, or just your immediate family and your work family. And I want to say thank you to my GT family out there. You are what makes this worthwhile. As you know, as a solo person, and I was at our Council of State Directors last week, and it is very few of us that are still only one for a state. And so, but we're all doing our jobs. We're trying to do the best. And I want to say thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving. Do something for yourself during that time. And hopefully, even though you're working at home, don't take work home over Thanksgiving break. I'm going to say it that way. I always don't put that bag in the car, or don't leave that bag in this little cubby space, and just take time for you. So, and as you know, our next one is on December the 8th. That is a Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. There will be only questions and answers. So, and then I will hopefully by that time have an answer for you on looking at more of that conversation on options for GT and identification. So have a great rest of your week. Have a great holiday. And I want to say goodbye, my friends. And